All right, let's kick off this deep dive. Today we're tackling the history of the English language.
Sounds exciting.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And you've given us a really cool set of sources.
Yeah, we've got Wikipedia articles on English itself, plus one on the Great Vowel Shift.
Oh, and the history of English, too.
Right, and then there's this really in-depth look at the phonological history of English, so we've got a lot to cover.
We do. We're going to trace how English went from, well, its earliest forms to the global language it is today.
You know, it's funny, when you think about it, English wasn't always the dominant language in England.
Really? I just assumed English, England, it's always been the main language.
Not at all. I mean, English is, at its heart, a West Germanic language.
Okay, so like related to German.
Exactly. Think of it like a family tree. You've got this big branch of Germanic languages, and within that, West Germanic.
Gotcha.
And that's where you find English, along with German, Dutch, and others.
Okay, so English has some cousins on the continent.
That's a good way to put it, and
Yeah.
it all traces back to these migrations.
You mean like the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes?
Exactly. They came to Britain around the 5th century.
Wow, that's way back. So what was spoken in Britain before they arrived?
Well, primarily Celtic languages. There might have been some remnants of British Latin hanging around from the Roman times, too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about. But the Anglo-Saxons really changed the linguistic landscape. You know, their dialects eventually became dominant.
So that's where we get the name England from, those Angles.
Precisely. England and English, both from the Angles.
So cool. But wait, does that mean Celtic languages just disappeared?
Not entirely. They got pushed to the fringes, so to speak. And that's why we still have languages like Welsh, Scottish Gaelic, and Cornish spoken today, mainly in those areas of Britain.
Huh. It's like these languages are holding on to the past.
Exactly. They're leaving echoes of those earlier times.
Wow. So let's fast forward a bit. We've got the Angles, Saxons, Jutes. Their languages are mixing. What happens next in the story of English?
Well, that brings us to Old English.
Old English. To be honest, whenever I see it written down, it looks like a foreign language to me.
It pretty much is. Old English, which was spoken from about 450 to 1150, is like a distant ancestor. We might share some DNA, but we barely recognize each other.
Right. It's so different.
One of the big differences is grammar. Old English was heavily inflected,
Inflected, meaning
meaning words had all these different endings depending on their role in a sentence, like who is doing the action, who is receiving the action, and so on.
so it was all about the endings.
Yes, it was like a linguistic puzzle where those endings were the key to unlocking the meaning.
But didn't English lose a lot of that complexity?
It did. As time went on, those inflections started to disappear.
So that means word order had to become more important.
Exactly. Because you couldn't rely on the endings to tell you who was doing what to whom. Word order became more fixed.
Interesting. So that's why English sentences today have a pretty set structure.
Exactly. And because English lost those inflections, it began to rely more on things like prepositions and auxiliary verbs to get its meaning across. It gained flexibility, but maybe lost a bit of that nuance.
Okay, so less nuanced, more flexible. It's a trade-off.
Uh-huh.
Like swapping a finely crafted sword for a Swiss Army knife.
Uh-huh. I like that analogy.
So Old English, it had complex grammar. It was starting to simplify. What else was going on? I'm guessing it wasn't just the Anglo-Saxons who had an impact.
You're right. We can't forget about the Vikings.
Wait, the Vikings? Like those guys with the horned helmets?
The very same. They had a huge impact on English, too, starting in the 8th century.
But I thought they were all about raiding and pillaging.
They were, but they also settled in parts of England, especially in the north and east. And with them, they brought their language, Old Norse.
Oh, I see. So their language got mixed in with Old English.
Exactly. What's really interesting is that Old English and Old Norse were actually somewhat mutually intelligible.
Wait, are you saying an Anglo-Saxon and a Viking could understand each other?
To a certain extent, yes.
That's wild. So what kind of words did the Vikings give us?
Lots of everyday words. Sky, give, take, they, them. They're all from Old Norse.
Wow. Those are some pretty basic words.
They are. It's amazing how these words born from Viking culture have become so deeply embedded in our language.
It's like a little piece of Viking history in every sentence.
You could say that.
So we've got the Anglo-Saxons, the Vikings, English is evolving. Then what happens? I have a feeling 1066 is going to be a big year.
You are absolutely right. The Norman conquest in 1066 was a massive turning point for English. It's like someone dropped a French dictionary right on top of it.
Well, I bet that shook things up.
It did. It was a linguistic earthquake. Yeah, it really was. Suddenly, French Well, the Norman dialect specifically became the language of the elite.
Oh, so like the courts and government stuff.
Exactly. English was kind of pushed to the side.
Wow, that's a huge shift. English went from underdog to top dog and back to underdog again. I can't imagine what that must have been like for people at the time.
It was a time of immense change, that's for sure. Linguistically, this period, from roughly 1150 to 1500, is when we start to see the emergence of what we call Middle English.
Middle English, right. So that's after Old English. Did Middle English keep all that complicated grammar from Old English?
Not quite. English started to absorb tons of French vocabulary, especially words related to law, government, and the church, and at the same time, it started simplifying its grammar.
It's funny you mention legal terms. Have you ever noticed how so many of them sound kind of, I don't know, fancier than our everyday words?
Oh,
It's like
absolutely.
justice, court, judge, jury. They all have this sort of French flair.
Exactly. It really reflects the power dynamics of the time. And alongside all those new French words, remember those complex word endings from Old English?
Yeah.
Well, they started to fade away, and word order became more fixed.
So it's like English streamlined itself to make room for all those new French terms.
That's a great way to put it. It's almost like English went through a makeover.
It did, a serious linguistic makeover.
And this fusion of Old English and French created a language that had both Germanic and Romance characteristics. You can actually see this blend beautifully in works like Chaucer's Canterbury Tales.
Oh yeah, Chaucer. The Canterbury Tales, that was written in Middle English, right?
Yes, it was.
So kind of like the Shakespeare of his day, but with even weirder spelling.
Uh-huh. You could say that.
And I bet those vowel sounds were, well, let's just say interesting. Which actually brings us to something else. The Great Vowel Shift, right?
Right. We're getting to a really interesting period here.
Yeah, this is where pronunciation goes through some major changes. One of the sources mentioned a drag chain pattern. What's that all about?
So imagine a chain reaction. One vowel changes its pronunciation and it sort of drags the others along with it.
Okay, so like a domino effect.
Exactly. For example, take the word house. Back then, it would have been pronounced more like hoose, or name would have sounded more like name.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It is. It's a fascinating puzzle how and why this shift happened, but it had a huge impact on how we pronounce English today, and of course, it really messed with spelling.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. English spelling is already tricky enough.
It is. And the Great Vowel Shift didn't help. See, English spelling was already becoming standardized based on the earlier pronunciation. Then the shift happens, and, well, you can imagine the chaos, the result, the often irregular and unpredictable spelling we have today.
So the next time I'm struggling to spell something, I can blame the Great Vowel Shift.
Absolutely. It's not your fault.
That's a relief. I thought it was just me. But anyway, we're talking Middle English, the Great Vowel Shift.
Yeah.
Isn't this also the time period when we start to see what we call early modern English emerge, the language of Shakespeare and all that?
Precisely. From roughly 1500 to 1800, we enter the era of early modern English.
Shakespeare, the printing press things are starting to sound a little more familiar.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of the printing press, it played a huge role in standardizing the language. Oh, yeah. William Caxton introduced the printing press to England in 1476. And suddenly, books were being mass-produced.
Wow. So even back then, technology was shaping language.
Absolutely. And with printing came a need for standardization, and the dialect of London, where Caxton set up shop, became very influential.
So that's how the London dialect became like the standard English we know today.
It was a big factor, yes. And this period also saw a huge influx of words borrowed from Latin and Greek.
Oh, right, those classical languages.
Exactly. English was expanding its vocabulary for all sorts of abstract concepts. Democracy, philosophy, scientific method, they all entered the language during this time.
It's like English was getting a serious intellectual upgrade.
You could say that.
So we've gone from Old English to Middle English to early modern English. It's amazing to see how each stage of development reflects what was happening in the world at that time.
It really does.
But eventually, early modern English had to evolve into, well, the language we speak today.
Right, modern English.
And that's when things get really interesting, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Modern English is where we see English become a truly global language.
Yeah, it really is incredible. I mean, when you consider we started with those Germanic tribes arriving in Britain, and now English is spoken all over the world.
It's mind-blowing, really. And think about all the changes it went through along the way. Old English, Middle English, the Great Vowel Shift, all those borrowed words from French, Latin, Greek.
It's like a linguistic tapestry woven from all these different threads.
Exactly. A tapestry that's still being woven today. I mean, English is constantly evolving, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every day, new words are being coined, new phrases are popping up, and the way we use grammar is always shifting, even if we don't always realize it.
It's like a living, breathing thing, adapting to the world around it.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so fascinating to study. It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
Speaking of journeys, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From those earliest Germanic roots to the global language English is today. It's been quite a ride, and we've just scratched the surface, really.
You're right. There's so much more we could explore. The intricacies of English grammar, the quirks of its spelling, the incredible diversity of dialects around the world.
There are endless rabbit holes to go down.
For sure. But even with just this glimpse into the history of English, I'm struck by how resilient and adaptable it is.
It's true. It's weathered so many storms, invasions, cultural shifts, technological revolutions. And through it all, it's not just survived, it's thrived.
And become this incredibly expressive and versatile language that allows us to communicate with people from all over the world.
It's remarkable, really.
But it makes you wonder, what's next for English? What does the future hold for this ever-evolving language?
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, with English continuing to spread and evolve at such a rapid pace, will we eventually see it splinter into distinct languages? Or will it somehow manage to maintain a core unity, even as it adapts to different cultural contexts?
It's fascinating to think about. I mean, will we see the rise of a world English, a standardized form that transcends regional differences? Or will we see English continue to diversify, leading to even more dialects, maybe even new languages altogether?
Who knows? But one thing's for certain, it's going to be an exciting ride.
I can't wait to see what happens. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the history of the English language. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
And remember, this was just a taste of what's out there. So keep exploring, keep learning, keep those dictionaries handy, and most importantly, keep those linguistic adventures going. Until next time, happy word nerding.